Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar. So today's topic is basically a quick introduction to ATR CustomTools and the common use cases of it in SolidWorks environment. I try to keep this as short as possible to give you kind of like an overview about custom tools without going too much into details. This webinar is recorded and will be made publicly available via our YouTube channel. There's a Q&A session at the end, but please post your questions as soon as something comes to your mind. I am Simo Erkinheimo. I'm the product manager of ATR CustomTools. My background is quite technical. I started developing custom tools about 14 years ago, and I'm still developing it today with some added responsibilities. My main responsibility is driving the custom tools product development. I have a few wingmen here today. I have Tero Salonen, our product director, and also Jenny, who is doing testing and support and also many other things there. So they will be answering your questions at the chat. Let's start with your models and how we can set up ATR custom tools for them. You have the design data somewhere. Maybe it's in your C drive, like I have here, or maybe in a network folder or Dropbox folder, or maybe even Windchill workspace or SolidWorks PDM vault. It really doesn't matter because it's the nature of SolidWorks files that the design data is mostly within the CAD files themselves, like custom properties, BOM tables, references, and so on. So you can just really bring in custom tools and it will be able to work with your existing design data. First, to obtain custom tools, go to our website atrsoft.com/customtools and start a free trial to download a full 30-day demo. You will get this pretty standard installer. Just install custom tools on the computer where you have SolidWorks and access to the models. For evaluation purposes, choose the standalone installation here. But just know that custom tools also enables team collaboration if you do network environment installation. And this is what you would usually have for design teams of all sizes, basically. Standalone is great for single user cases and also for evaluation. After you have installed, simply launch SolidWorks. Custom tools will launch automatically with it. And during the first launch, you will activate your license and custom tools user will also be automatically created for you. So installing custom tools is really just that simple, but don't stop now, because you are not set up yet. Almost everything in custom tools is fully configurable, and we haven't yet configured anything, so it really doesn't do anything for you yet. Start by opening any of your existing assemblies, and then visit ATR Custom Tools properties. Since those properties are not yet configured in custom tools, you will see a simplified wizard that can analyze your designs and figure out what kind of custom property data you have. You can also do small adjustments here, but when you hit finish, you will now have something very crude for custom property management, but it's also very good as a starting point. You can already click through your components and manage their custom property data. As said, this is very crude, but later I will show a well-defined profile that really highlights the benefits of our custom property management. But now that we did this step, Custom Tools now knows which properties there are, so we can start using other features too. Custom Tools has a database, and now we can import all the designs and their properties into it. I choose to import my entire model root folder here. I did the standalone installation, so everything I import is going to my personal database. Once the import is finished, we are starting to see some real benefits. Since we have database, we can also have search. You can now search all your existing designs by any custom properties they had, and even drag and drop components to the active designs. This alone can be a huge productivity boost, especially if you are not already on PDM or PLM system. Some of these features we have in custom tools are similar to what you would see in PDM systems, but these are simply based on indexing of the files rather than actually taking ownership of the files. So in comparison, it is much more lightweight solution. But it also means many of the custom tools features can be used with or without a PDM system. Next, let's take a look at custom tools print and convert. Similar to properties, the first launch invokes this simplified wizard. I want to convert drawings into PDF files. Pretty simple. And then I want to merge all the individual PDFs into a single PDF file. That basically gives me a drawing catalog of an assembly. In this view, we can see the entire assembly, all components, all the drawings, their sheets, and all the relevant custom properties. We could use those in file selection filters to make very specific printing and conversion rules and even drawing automation rules. But let's just run this merge PDF rule now as an example. CustomTools batch operations can obviously boost designers' productivity enormously. These type of operations can be very tedious tasks to do manually, not just slow and expensive, but also very error-prone. Here's the merged PDF that was just created. It's a little bit shame I have those old logos there of ATR. Let's fix that later. Printing supports targeting specific drawing sheets to specific printers with any specific printing settings. Conversion rules support most of the common file types like PDF, DXF, DWG, IGS, STL, STEP, and so on. Drawing automation supports new drawing creation, appending DXF or pending sheets to existing drawings, and also to batch update sheet formats. All of those multiple different rules can be even templated into a single-click operation. Basically, you just run all the rules you want with a single click, and then you go get some coffee and let CustomTools do all the heavy lifting for you. Next, let's take a look at CustomTools Export. You can have multiple export profiles for different purposes, but since we have none yet, we will again see a simplified setup wizard. This one is for creating an Excel-based BOM report. I will choose my BOM type, and then I will simply drag and drop all the interesting custom property fields as exported columns, like all the descriptions and item number and revision. Then I just click Next and Finish to save this export profile. And here we can see all the interesting CAD data in this export view. And this export profile happens to produce an Excel report of this data. Our standard report adds also these component previews. But again, everything that you see here, including the Excel template, is fully configurable and customizable. Our export tool is also used for cutting optimization reports, design data review, and ERP integrations. Those integrations to various ERP systems are sold separately as CustomTools modules. So far, everything that I've shown was done using these simplified wizards. That gives kind of like a minimal but somewhat working setup. But it's highly recommended to refine the configuration into something that supports your way of working. Our options are vast. You can define projects and sequences that give you unique serial numbers, for instance, for automatic file naming. You can freely define property groups and properties for parts, assemblies, drawings, cut list items, with lots of potential functionality behind every single property. Contents of drop lists can be easily managed here, but you can also easily integrate them with third-party systems. And at the bottom we have those export profiles and the one that we created with the simplified wizard. As you can see, you can create multiple profiles with different BOM types and whatever field data you might need. Now, we know configuring custom tools can be quite complex and overwhelming, but it's also a one-time thing, and you are not alone. Our YouTube channel is full of tutorials, webinars, and videos. We have very good product documentation, both offline and online. We have knowledge base articles, and even our technical support is included for free in that 30-day trial. Now let's take a quick look at some well-configured operations. Copy feature allows you to copy entire assemblies. I will use Save as Copy action for these drawings and components. I will copy them to ATR Woofer project, which I created earlier. Project defines file naming rules, and I can also modify properties of the soon-to-be copies here. Apply, and CustomTools creates a fresh copy of the assembly with these given rules. My ATR woofer file name rule was project number dash running sequence, which is what you now see here. If we visit the properties, there is this nice new property manufacturing method, which is not populated yet. We can populate this for multiple components at the same time, again using the copy feature, but this time I'm choosing write property values action. And I will only select the components I want to modify. You can use these context menu quick selections, or you can also highlight rows by selecting components from the model view. When done, simply apply the property changes you want. Like so. File name automation can be surprisingly powerful. Let's search for a component from another project and just drag and drop it here. If we want to keep our references clear from the other project, we can simply visit the properties of this component and change its project to the ATR woofer project. This triggers file name automation, and when you apply, CustomTools verifies what it is that you actually want to do. This will also automatically copy the original drawing and updates it. So just few clicks and you now have a fully managed copy of that component in your own project domain. So when we talk about file management, this is file management. And this type of file management is also completely valid even with PDM that owns the files, but it really doesn't manage them. Next, let's take a look at our drawing automation. If we open any of the original drawings of this design, we can see that we have very old sheet formats, which is obvious from this old logo here. We can update all drawings at once. I have already created a sheet format action rule that defines which sheets should be updated and how. I select that rule here from drawing automation and also choose to save the drawings once updated. Then I will just let CustomTools to process all the drawings. Like so. We can open one to verify that it was updated. And yes, it is. Another nice tool. If you are working with sheet metal, here's a cutting profile creation. Just one click and you will have a new sheet in your drawing, DXF sheet. No sheet format, one-to-one scaled, cleaned for cutting, and it also has this custom note that I've defined. But we probably don't want to do this one by one. Let's again use drawing automation. I've defined the rule that only targets drawings of sheet metal parts that require cutting. CustomTools shows the new sheets that are going to be added here in cursive, and there's quite plenty of them. Again, we can just apply this rule and just wait. Now that we have those DXF sheets, we can run yet another rule to convert those sheets into a DXF files. I have a rule here, cutting parts to DXF, which targets specifically those DXF sheets. We could have actually run this rule at the same time with the previous rule, but this is probably easier to follow like this, so that's why I do it like this. The DXF rule created this manufacturing folder and subfolder for the manufacturing type. And here we have the DXF files that were just created, including that dynamic note. So very powerful tool. As a final demo, here's a templated operation. Let's create a fresh new drawing catalog with a single click of a button. This same single click operation could have also created those drawings, updated sheet formats, add the DXF sheets, convert them into DXF files, and finally create that merged PDF. And here we have that. Beautiful. And that concludes my demonstrations for today. So this was really just a scratch of the surface. CustomTools can really be a great overall solution for SOLIDWORKS design teams, but it can also be a very important, just as a tool that targets very specific pain points that you might have in your current design processes. The next webinar is May 7th by our Senior Application Specialist Tim, and the topic is Design Data Management Best Practices. That sounds very good. I'm at least going to join that one. On behalf of the whole CustomTools team, thank you for joining this webinar. and have a nice day.